Hey guys, how's it going? It's Nick, and today we have an interview with Sunit, who has been in the freight forwarding business for over a decade now. The interview, being my first, is very, how should I say this, back and forth. We jump over a lot of topics, whether it's the process of the whole freight forwarding to emailing manufacturers, how to vet one, and kind of some do's and don'ts, general experiences from Sunit's world. I'm hoping that this video will more or less start the conversation about this whole freight forwarding because it is a huge part of our Amazon businesses. So as you listen to it, just jot down some questions or comments that you might have for me and just jot it down below. So without further ado, let's get right into it. I'm sitting down with my friend Sunit, who's been in the freight forwarding business for about 10 years. Yeah, awesome. So basically, a lot of you guys have been asking freight forwarding questions, and I actually have my own things that I wanted to kind of, go deeper on and get it on tape so that I could personally come back to it. So without further ado, let's dive into it. Sunit, thank you for taking out the time.
You're welcome.
And let's start with general. For people out there that don't really know what freight forwarding is, how would you describe it?
I would describe it as getting your goods from one place to another quite simply because of its general trade in the business where you have to put the goods in a container or airplane and get it over to the next port of destination. Both of them have their own sets of rules. A freight forwarder knows those rules and helps you overcome those barriers that you'll have if you have to do it yourself. It's the same thing like passing customs in the airport. You have certain rules in every country. Those freight forwarders knows every rules. So that's the way I would think.
Okay.
And they have to facilitate that because they have customs brokers. They have knowledgeable people for the most part. If you work with the right person, there's knowledge in that department. And they can help you with any barriers that you have.
So you're talking about a company that is a freight forwarder specific, like a freight forwarding company that kind of handles it from the point of where the product is originated to basically either we're talking about Amazon warehouse or your home or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. What you can also get it from the factory directly, but most factories quote FOB prices, which delivers it to the port in China, for example, and then the freight forwarder has a warehouse there. Most freight forwarders have a warehouse there. They put it in the bonded warehouse. That's what they call it. They just basically facilitate the goods. Bring it over, documents, paperwork, container prices, things like that.
And what's FOB prices exactly?
FOB prices means freight on board. So this kind of, actually I don't know if it's free on board or freight on board, but I just know the literal meaning is that the China factory delivers it to the port of origin for the shipper to pick it up from there. If they have to pick up from the factory directly, then there's going to be other trucking charges involved. So basically it means that the China factory includes all the trucking expense and the declaration expense into that. Otherwise we'd have to declare it ourselves.
Right.
Which is not always easy in China.
Right.
So that's why it's always good to get FOB prices.
Yeah. Have you ever had experiences or known somebody who went ahead with not necessarily just Amazon, but let's say with any kind of product order, and then they didn't specify to the manufacturer like I want FOB, and then like what happened?
That's why it's important to have the contracts in place. Factories do quote X work prices, which basically means you pick it up from their factory, and then you have to arrange a trucking to the shipping port, and then from the shipping port you arrange declaration again in China. Which is possible. Everything
do freight forwarders do that, or is that like a separate Chinese company that
usually a trading company, but their freight forwarders do provide those services as well. It's not impossible, but it's a bit of a pain in the thing.
So always go with FOB basically is what you want.
Try to go with FOB as much as possible, although because paying in X works also mostly they want RMB. They don't accept US dollars because it's a local delivery thing, right? It's basically like someone in China buying it from them. So they take local. They're not going to take US dollars there.
Yeah, exactly.
From us, they take US dollars for wire transfers. So that's the difference. That's the key difference. So it's better to have the declaration. Plus, China factories prefer it because they get a tax rebate on exports out of China. So if they show that, hey, I shipped this to Nick in Canada.
Yeah. So it's in their best interest.
They get a tax rebate. It's in their best interest. But of course, they do business locally because some factories are not equipped to handle international exports. So they use a trading company in China to facilitate that documentation thing.
Another big thing that I'm personally curious about, and I find that a lot of people at the beginning tend to ask about, is what is the process? Because freight forwarding just sounds like such a complicated thing. I remember me starting off the first time, I was just so overwhelmed with what's going on, and I really like the way you boiled it down to me the other evening that we talked. So to just give me like a general overview of the freight forwarding process.
The process is fairly simple. You see, you get a price, let's just say $1 for a product from a factory. Once the goods are ready, or when let's just say they're getting ready end of August, you'd want to contact a shipping company, ideally by mid of August, kind of give you that leeway in case something goes wrong or whatever. So just kind of keep that time buffer for yourself. From there, you just kind of give them, hey, you know what, this is my factory details. They'll contact the factory, or the factory will contact them. Either way works. They'll arrange that, what I call this, the nonsense details between them. Whatever they have to sort out between them, they sort out. And they'll tell you, okay, fine, I can cash. The forwarder will tell you, okay, fine, this is the vessel that's available. If your goods are ready on the 30th, they can leave on the 5th, they can leave on the 15th September if it doesn't catch that. Or whatever it might be. If it's by air, it can be leave the next day. They'll give you options.
Those are the two options, right? Air or sea.
Yeah.
Basically, that does it.
To get it across,
To
get it across, sea is the best option.
Yeah.
You know? So it's...
Best option price-wise.
Price-wise and time-wise, because if you think about it, air takes 3 or 5 days, sometimes a week. But sea, it takes 14 days to get to California. There's absolutely no sense in not doing it. I mean, you have to just plan ahead. Sure, if you have the margins, if you want to just do a small 50, 100 unit test order, I'd say air is fine. Depending on the volume of the goods as well, right? Depending on weight and volume. That's how it gets calculated. It'll go by the highest one.
Right. So what's your criteria deciding between air and sea freight forwarding?
For me personally, if it's under 2 CBM, I'd go air.
Okay.
But I've never had a shipment of that size, that being said.
But this is for a lot of people, you know, just starting off. It's just kind of like recommendation.
Personally, air is only if I have absolute urgency to deliver to a client.
Okay.
Not even for myself.
Yeah.
If I've made a commitment to a client that I have to deliver and I'm late, it's the only time I'd use air in my life. So that happens, obviously, and outside the business, outside Amazon. But since we're only talking about Amazon, since you control the inventory that goes in, you don't have... If you plan ahead, you won't have that extreme rush.
Yeah, so plan ahead. Okay, and then you have, whether by air or by sea, it gets delivered to the port, let's say California. What happens
What happens then? So the forwarder will usually have a U.S. office, usually, to take care. Most freight forwarders have offices at major ports. In the States, you'd consider New York, Florida, and California being major ports, and also Seattle. Oakland, and all that West Coast, all the coast basically are major ports. So they'll have offices all around there. Let's just assume it's going to Long Beach, California. They will just, once the goods are shipped from China, the Hong Kong forwarder coordinates with the US forwarder, say, hey, you know what, this guy has goods coming. US forwarder likely will contact you. They'll offer to help you with customs, things like that, you know. They'll ask you, okay, what's your merchandise that you have coming in? You'd provide them with an invoice and packing slip to show them what's... So
you have to do that for the customs, or usually does the freight forwarder that's handling the process?
The freight forwarder can handle A to Z.
Okay.
Now, it depends what you want to handle. Some people want freight forwarding handled separately. Some people want customs handled separately.
Right. Okay.
But me personally, I use the same company.
Of course.
Because it's easier. It's just the same price and it's easier.
Yeah.
It's not... The customs broker won't give you a cheaper price.
Yeah.
But some people like to have it separate so that... I actually don't know why they want it.
They probably have like a man on the ground.
Something. It could be multiple magnitude of reasons. But anyway, the simple reason is that it's just easier to do it in the same company. So now when the US forwarder gets notified that, hey, you know what, Nick has goods coming in. He's going to ask you, what's your HS code? HS code is basically a code of classification of goods. There's websites for this online, which I can provide you resources later. But in general, just ask, they have a customs broker in-house, send them a picture of your unit, tell them the material. If you're selling wooden chair, tell them, hey, I have a chair made of wood.
Yeah.
What's my duty rate and my HS code? They'll give it to you.
Yeah, and you know what was interesting is that I've talked about this before. Is that I used Shapiro Co for my first delivery, and then I used Unitrans for my second, my current one that's coming in a couple of weeks. And I found it to be very different because aside from price, Shapiro asked me very little questions. They never asked me, for example, what's your thing made out of? I just basically said like, you know, here's what I'm selling on Amazon, or whatever. Here's like my item that I'm selling. They never ask for pictures, or they never ask for like specific.
Yeah, because you told them already what you're selling from the beginning.
Okay, so I guess they just kind of because with Unitrans, they actually asked me, can you send us a photo? Can you give us a detailed description?
Yeah, because it's their butts on the line, right?
Yeah.
So if they misdeclare something for you, they're at thing. So it's a risk for them too. So if you misdeclare your item and they advise you differently, granted, at the end of the day, you'll be liable.
Yeah.
But it's also their license on the line.
Yeah. And
they have to be careful about that.
Yeah. If we take just the customs processing fees, how much would you say is an average reasonable cost for that?
I estimate duty at most products at about 10%.
Okay.
I take 10% just to cover any fees or whatever.
But when you say duties, you mean that's how much the border will charge you to import. This is not something that the freight forwarder makes up. This is outside freight.
This is outside freight forwarding. This is standard states importing. Right. Like supposing if states import wood from China, it could be lesser duty than if it imports from Thailand. So they have different origin depending on their trade agreement, right? Right. So that's
kind of out of your hands. But let's say
that's out of our hands.
A freight forwarder will charge you a fee to process all the documents, right?
Yeah, this is like filing fees. Usually destination fees. Those are called destination fees. Destination fees usually run about $300 per container. Okay. So even for a shipment, it should be.
And containers, how many CBM?
28, 58, and 68. But that's way out of thing, that depends when you scale.
Yeah, if it's your first or second product, that's
first or second product is not going to matter. Yeah, so then basically you're looking at a maximum of $300 basically to clear destination charges. Okay. And granted, there's also origin charges which the factory takes care of. That's what FOB price includes. Right. They take care of their site customs declaration. They say that, hey, you know what, I'm exporting this to Nick, doing this and that. Cool. I'm providing the trucking, exporting this one to Nick. Okay. So that's where that comes in. So that's why FOB is important that way. Basically, when it arrives at port, you're looking at landed into Long Beach. All your costs included, including duty, including everything, right? Yeah. That's your landed cost. Okay. And then so the items get processed. What's the next step? What happens after? Items get processed, then you have to get it shipped to Amazon. From the forwarder itself, they obviously have fees to sort and segregate cartons, which can vary. Yeah. You can also ship it to your home if you're based in the States and then ship it out from there to Amazon, or you can have it shipped out directly if you don't want to touch the goods, which is the whole point of this business. Exactly. Don't touch it, don't see it. As long as you've done your inspection already in China, I would say there's no need to touch it over here. Yeah. You can have the warehouse, the forwarder just open 2-3 cases to see, take out pictures for your peace of mind, but there's nothing much you can do when it's here. Yeah, exactly. You already paid the factory. The factory's got their money already. Exactly. At that point, you're on their court, right?
You just take it.
Yeah, so you got to deal with it in China is better than dealing with it here.
So I had a few people mention, that as new sellers, even for like 50, 100 units that they're testing, they will have it imported to their house to inspect it, right? Yeah. So what kind of steps can someone like that take to basically cut themselves out of the process?
Well, you see, 50, 100 units is not a big deal. Yeah, I can check that in over 2 hours.
But if you're, let's say, traveling, like for example,
if you're traveling, then the only thing is, number one, do your inspection in China. Number two is...
How would you go about just...
this inspection in China?
Yeah, like photos, just ask
the factory for photos, number one. Obviously, now, if you're doing a few business deals with them, then yeah, photos will suffice. Okay. But you should always get photos because they're prone to mistakes. Right. You have to understand the language. What they think is... Here's what I learned with China amongst all my experience is that what they think is not a big deal is a big deal, could be a big deal to you. Like, they'll just say, hey, you know what, I just messed up carton markings. What's the big deal? But for us, it's a big deal because we need to sort it out. Exactly. My warehouse needs to put labels on it. Whatever, right? It's for Amazon. They need to put labels. And if they screw the labels, then you're screwed. Yes. So what they think is a big deal might not be a big deal to you, and vice versa. Right. So it's better to get that pictures and tell them from day one, hey, this is the pictures that I need. When you place the order with them, they have to deposit them. Okay. List it out. I need a picture of the unit. I need a picture of the item and packaging. I need a picture of the barcode. Picture of the FNSKU sticker from Amazon on top of the barcode. I need a picture, a small video, whatever you can. Right. Whatever you can get.
So basically just tell them, like, they're a 3-year-old, like, this is what I need in detail, give me everything.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, don't just say, like, give me everything.
Yeah,
just,
list it out. Tell them what you want. Yeah. Tell them you want the side of the carton, you want the bottom of the carton, you want everything. Yeah. You just have to make sure that you're... Especially for the first few deals, this is a necessity. Even if then you're still getting some bad vibes from them, then you just you can hire a third-party inspection company. Okay. There's plenty of them available.
How much does that usually cost?
Between 100 and 300. Okay. Depending on the type of... It's not bad, no. It's plus also peace of mind. But obviously, see now, someone who's starting out, they're going to be like, hey, why should I spend $100 just to check my goods? I'd rather just receive it in States and check it myself. Exactly. Right? Like, many arguments both ways can go.
So it's whatever you prefer, whatever you
It's whatever you prefer, but
yeah.
recommendation from being in business, I'll tell you, it's better to check it in China. Solve the issue there because it's number one, cheaper.
Yeah.
Number two, they're more likely to fix the goods because they finished it. They don't want to. They can't sell it to someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they can,
but they want to appease you more.
Yeah, no, they. It's a private label product. You're assuming it's a private label product. This is assuming. So that brand is useless to anybody else unless they sell it out of the country. Now they know they can't sell it in the States unless someone wants to take the risk of bringing in your private label, for example, right? So they try to help you, and from what I see, when they have their back to the wall that way, they'll help you.
But once you receive it,
then you're out of the thing.
Exactly.
Because they don't have any interest in helping you.
Exactly. You
could just be a one-time client. You don't understand Chinese mentality. They don't think long-term business. They don't think like they always say in their emails long-term business, but that's just a Google copy-paste thing. Yeah. They don't really believe that. If I am selling your product and I'm able to offer them more money than you are to them, he'll sell to me, not you.
For sure.
As simple as that.
100%.
So, and it's probably simple in all other cultures, but in Chinese it's very apparent.
So then give me a breakdown of just like what are your do's and don'ts? Like what do you find just like the general philosophy of contacting and working with Chinese suppliers?
Working with Chinese suppliers, you just have to make sure transparency in the sense don't take anything for granted with them. That they understand this. It's because they said yes in an email. If you can, Skype call. If not Skype call, pictures. Always get it in black and white. These things are very important to get it in black and white by email, which is why I always prefer. I don't try to do anything on Skype, although sometimes it's necessary. Yeah. I try not to do it because there's just room for error. There's room for misinterpretation. So you have to make sure you're on top of your game. It's a business. It's your business at the end of the day. They have good hopes for hoping you succeed because you can keep ordering from them then. Yeah. But at the end of the day, they have enough business. You have to understand they're manufacturers. We're still middlemen.
Yeah.
Right? So
exactly.
They're going to get the business either from you or from the next guy.
Okay.
If they're at a good, let's just assume they have a competitive price and a good product. Assuming that those two factors alone, right? And their skills are good in terms of communicating with clients. Those three things, that's all you really need. Yeah. Right? To work with a factory. So whether they get it from you or someone else, for them it doesn't matter. We're just numbers to them. Yeah. Kind of thing. You know? That's what I would say is the main thing is get everything in black and white with China. I don't know what else really, to be honest. No matter how good a supplier is, there's room for error. No matter how good they seem to be. Sometimes if they're even too good, you should be worried is because they can easily undercut you.
Yeah, so, okay, so actually, that's a good point. So, like, in terms of vetting, right? Let's say you're finding a new supplier and you're vetting through them. Like, what do you look for to tell you this is going to be a good manufacturer to work with, or even if this is a manufacturer?
I go to Canton first, to be honest. I don't do much work on Alibaba.
Okay, so let's say, hypothetically, you're
Alibaba?
Only on Alibaba, you're only just starting all over again.
Okay, if I'm only on Alibaba, I would find products. It just depends on communication, how fast.
So I mean, like, it's not necessarily just using Alibaba, but it's like, what are the red flags versus green flags for in communication or in transaction via email or kind of the vetting process of the manufacturer?
I personally get annoyed when suppliers ask me for a label. What's the label size? Those kind of amateur questions don't. Well, you know, like I tell them I need customized gift box packaging. They'll be like, send me the artwork first. It shouldn't matter what my artwork is because I'm sending you. It's an artwork. Yeah. Whether it's it has fully colored or what, it doesn't matter. Those things annoy me because I'm just like, listen, it's just an artwork. You get it from every client. Yeah. Every private label client will give you their own artwork to do. Those things annoy me.
You mean like if they ask you to have it done and sent to them?
No. They ask me for all the specifications as if I'm going to have the artwork ready before I inquire.
Yeah. Oh, you mean so this is
those
like
things are my peeves.
Okay.
Those are my peeves. So I try to... Those kind of suppliers are instantly out of my radar. Okay. I tell them, listen, either you can code or you can't code.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very common. It's a common requirement. What's a label size going to do? If it's 2 by 5 inches or 3 by 5 inches, what's it going to do? It's going to be 0.5% more to you? I know the cost of all this stuff, so it's different for me. But they ask all these questions, which those are my pet peeves, you know?
So, interesting enough, cost-wise, what would, like, how would you determine the appropriate cost for if you're trying to source an item? Like, let's say this is your first item, you're just starting out, and you go on Alibaba to find a manufacturer. How do you determine if, like, am I being overcharged, undercharged?
Like, say you get replies from 5 factories for a wooden chair, right? The wooden chair, I can tell you something that you might get quotes as $5, you might get quoted $20. You might get everything in between. The only way to know for sure is by getting a sample.
Yeah.
Some guys are overcharging you simply because they can overcharge, because they have clients that pay that money. Some guys are overcharging because they just don't want to sell to you.
Yeah.
And they're just trying to blow you off in a nice way. Instead of telling you, hey, I don't want to sell to you. Hey, you know what? What they're trying to do is, hey, you know what? I'm a good supplier. I'm quoting your price at least. So you remember them.
So what would be the reason why they don't want to sell you something?
It could be any reasons. Could be exclusive agreements. Could be just, honestly, no space in their factory. Could be just pride. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just so many number of
Weird.
things.
So weird. Like, because I think, like, you want business, right?
Yeah, they want
like
business, but some guys have a lot of business, right?
So they're just putting a pause on it.
And they also know, right, who's a newbie and who's not a newbie. They can tell from an email. Very easily they can tell.
So how would they go about telling? So what are the
how they go
signs
like
of a newbie?
Yeah, I would say for any new guy out there, is the first thing is it's important to create an image of who you are. Even if you're the only one working there, act as if you're not the only one. Act as if you might have a boss. Act as if you are the boss. Act as if you're the boss of a big company or medium-sized company, small company, whatever it might be. Just act as something.
Yeah.
Don't act as an individual sitting out of your house.
Yeah, that's what I did for my
impression.
For my first product. I said, hey, I'm a purchasing agent contacting you on behalf of ABC company.
Yeah.
I want to know these questions, and you ask 4, 5, 6 professionally related questions, just like what the size can you do this, what kind of quantity can you output, can we request samples?
That's the thing also about sending it to China. Sometimes they'll just be like, sometimes you look too professional and intimidates them.
Yeah.
Because they're like, hey, what I can't supply to this client. When they see a lot of requirements, the first thing they do is get scared because they think that they can't do it. A lot of them do.
So how do you mediate it between not appearing as a newbie?
Make it look simple. Don't make it look so complicated.
So
it's not complicated.
Give me an example of like an email that
you
you
would
send.
Dear Mr. Ryan, I'm looking for this product. Picture attached. Quantity 1,000 pieces, for example. 12 pieces in a carton. This is the quality that I need. I need hardwood. This is the size that I need. If it's not already in the picture, it's not evident in the picture.
Sure.
Please quote best FOB US dollar prices. Delivery to USA. Keep it simple. Just keep it straight to the point.
Okay.
There's no need. Put it in bullet points if you have to. If you have questions, put it in bullet points. Put a question mark. Put a little line on it. Just make it so simple for them to answer. As I said, this baby step, baby talk with them.
Yeah. So that's exactly that was my approach at first, because when I first started, I was doing a bunch of research on it. Right, and like a lot of the blogs and forums were saying, contact them as a purchasing agent.
Yeah.
Do it like. Each question, don't pile them in together. Do each like one bullet point per question and kind of list it out.
Absolutely, yeah. Like I used to ask for, please provide details. First bullet point, FOB US dollar. Next line, carton size.
Yeah.
Next line, carton quantity.
Yeah.
Next line, gross weight. Next line, net weight. Next line, MOQ. Next line, material. Next line, size. All you do is fill out the blanks.
Cool.
Next line, delivery time.
Yeah.
And the next line, sample cost plus sample delivery time.
Yeah.
Put it in such a way that they have to answer all your questions.
It's just obvious that these are all separate questions.
Exactly. Now, if you're gonna go and send them a Word document with filling out 2 pages of stuff, 90% of the time you're not gonna get a reply. Yeah, this guy wants to know the item color box dimensions. Is that important right now? Is it? No,
not really.
But your first job is to finding a supplier is to get quotes from 5, 6 suppliers, right?
Yeah.
So after that, you can ask them the questions. After you place your order, then go ahead, ask them the questions. I need to make a color box. What size?
The way that I see it is, you basically it's like the theory of investment, right? You if you're gonna ask somebody like, hey man, can I borrow $100,000 after meeting a person for a week? Like that's never gonna go. But if you know somebody for a couple of days and you're just like, hey man, do you mind if I borrow $1 for a soda? Next week you can ask them, do you mind if I borrow $5 for a meal? I'll give it back to you next week.
You're new to these guys. Emailing out of a Gmail or Yahoo account.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, also that's a good point. Always create a brand new account, like a throwaway account.
Gmail is fine in my opinion. People.
I'm getting so many emails right now. Just advertising.
Yeah, but you need to separate one for your company. So whatever your company name is, abc@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Or ABC Products, ABC LLC, whatever it might be. Alibaba has that service where actually even any company in Hong Kong or China can, actually anywhere in the world, can just kind of buy customer information because they have all the customer information. They have accounts A to Z. They probably have 500 billion accounts.
Okay, so to wrap it up, what would you say your biggest takeaways from your 12 years of doing this? What's the general philosophy approach this with?
General philosophy, I would say, is just don't underestimate how backward China is. They can give you some annoying problems and problems that you never even thought existed. You're gonna have issues one day or the other. No supplier is perfect. Even if they're good now, they can still throw you under the bus because you have to understand one thing: you have to keep on top of your stuff. The second takeaway I'd say is they're all about money. Like I said, they'll sell to me if I pay them more money. More than you, I'll tell them, you know what, I can buy Nick's brand of items. Varies by person. I shouldn't say that about all Asian people, but it's a known thing.
Kind of like a generality.
It's a generality
almost like a
thing, yeah. It's nothing,
right? Something to expect. Something so you don't approach it from like a Western point of view, but you think ahead of like what the difference in culture is. But anyway, yeah, man. Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
I really appreciate you taking this time and like talking to me about this.
So I hope you enjoyed that interview with Sunit about freight forwarding. I know we jumped around a lot. But being my first interview, I would really appreciate you commenting down below with any kind of feedback or questions that maybe we weren't clear about something. Like this video if you guys got some value out of it. I really hope you did. And subscribe to keep up with all my latest videos about not only Amazon, but also, you know, moving out of your comfort zone and getting into digital nomadism, so to speak. So yeah, have a good one, guys. Thanks.